Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with founder, bassist, and composer Mike Rivard on Club Delph on the 25th anniversary of the outfit. For 25 years now, this Boston-based dub jazz collective has been helping audiences lose track of time while creating mesmerizing music with a very distinct Moroccan folk-infused trance, along with elements of jazz, hip-hop, electronica, avant-garde, prog-rock, and dub. To celebrate this silver anniversary, the band's been on tour around the United States. It continues, and they have a digital re-release of their storied debut album, As Above. It dropped on February 8th, 2023. Mike covers all of this and so much more. Enjoy.
Man, it's great to reconvene. I appreciate you taking a minute out today.
Always happy to speak to you.
You know, we've already talked, and I got a really good expose on your life and the band, so this is really kind of shining a spotlight on the 25th anniversary, which in the music industry, that's a big deal. So talk to me a little bit about what this means to be celebrating this kind of anniversary.
It's kind of surreal because when I began the whole thing in 1998, I certainly didn't think I would be, still doing it 25 years later. But the music just, it's remained fresh and vital. And I think a lot of that is because of the structure of the situation. It's constantly evolving. It's never really the same thing twice. So it's kind of built into it that it's always changing and shifting around. We have a rotating cast of musicians who flow in and out of the band, and over the 25 years that we've been together, I don't know, it's been a while since I've counted, but I think there's been over 150 musicians that have played in the band, and about 25 of whom are more or less regular, and then there's a core of about 3 or 4 of us who do more of the shows than anyone else. And I guess I'm the only permanent person, that's been doing it all this time. So, it's tough being the person who's in charge of the whole thing, but it also lends itself to, I don't have to submit to a board of directors or anything. I don't have to, when I make decisions, it's kind of, I try to make the best decisions for the band, but there's not a lot of friction, there's not a lot of competing voices. I try to make things as democratic as possible, and the whole premise of the thing is based on freedom. It's everybody is free to play as personally as they can in the band. It's not a situation where you have to come in and kind of temper or limit what you do. I try to create a situation that creates a fertile ground for all musicians to feel as if it's their band or their rhythm section, so they can pretty much do their thing. And then when it comes to all the business and the administrative stuff, I handle that. So, I don't know. I guess I've gotten better at it. I hope I have over 25 years. And, I owe the whole thing to my relationship with, I think the last time we spoke, I spoke about my relationship with Mark Sandman from the band Morph. Is a dear friend of mine who I was playing in a band, a side project of his called Hypnosonics. It predated Morphine. I think Hypnosonics began around 1980. I joined the band in 86. And, Mark got busy with Morphine, and I was always encouraging him / bugging him to book Hypnosonic shows, and he just kind of got sick of it and said, "Look, Rivard, you got to start your own band." So that was kind of the impetus for me starting it. And the original gig that we did, it actually began as a residency at the Lizard Lounge in Cambridge, Massachusetts. A friend of mine, Billy Beard, was booking the Lizard, and I pitched the idea to him reoccurring, kind of a night based on some of the stuff that was going on in New York at the time. There was a scene based, kind of some live drum and bass, and I think, they were calling it the Ilbian scene, and a lot of the stuff Bill Laswell was doing. There wasn't really anything like that happening in Boston at the time, so I pitched the idea of, we would have a core band, and then different musicians would come in and out, and we would remix the music. And the first show that we did was basically Hypnosonics with some added musicians. I was playing a lot and still do with a great guitar player named Duke Levine. And so it kind of started as a residency, and then it just, took on a life of its own and gained momentum. We started doing shows out of town. Our first show outside of Boston was at the Knitting Factory in New York with John Medeski and Matt Maneri, Joe Maneri. And we actually released an album of that, 420 New York City. So now it's been 25 years, and it still feels kind of fresh because, it's always changing. And, especially this past year was a big year for us. We put out our first studio album in, 10 or 12 years. And as we discussed in our last meeting, the music for that was all inspired by some pretty profound experiences that I had, pretty dark experiences. And it feels like kind of a journey has been completed, and now we're sort of moving on to the next thing. And 25 is a big number, and we'll see. I mean, I don't know if I'll be doing this in 25 more years, but you never know, I mean, if it still feels good, and as long as it feels good, I think we'll keep doing it.
So you are finishing up a tour. You got one more show in Marlborough, New York on March 10th. What was that like, especially in the context of living through this pandemic for the last 3 years, the world's opening up, and you're obviously celebrating a big anniversary. What did all of that feel like? What was the tour like?
Well, we actually have a number of shows coming up. I mean, we're keeping the tour kind of going. I mean, when you celebrate a 25th anniversary, it's, you don't have to confine it to 2 weeks, even though the band, so the first gig we did was in February of 1998, but we're going to be celebrating our 25th anniversary all year long. And we have 2 shows coming up, the Falcon show that you mentioned, and then the next night we're playing a deep dive in Ithaca. And those shows are going to be really cool because we're reuniting a lineup of the band that did a tour of the South in 2002. I rented a couple of vans, and we all piled in. And the touring band was John Medeski, Matt Maneri, Brahim Fribgon, Mr. Rourke, Eric Kalb, and myself. And when we were in Georgia, we were joined for a couple of shows by guitarist Reeds Gabrels, who was playing with David Bowie for 10 years. And at that time, he was on a break, and I think he was hanging out with Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes in Atlanta. So we did a couple of shows with him and put out an album, Athens GA 32802, from that lineup. So it's cool that we're kind of celebrating another anniversary within the anniversary. I mean, that was 21 years ago, and we're just reuniting the band for these 2 shows. What is it like to do it after the pandemic? I mean, this isn't our first time out since the pandemic. We've been doing shows for almost a couple of years now, but this is certainly like. Well, I guess April was back in April when You Never Know, the studio album came out. That was, we did a bunch of shows then. I mean, it feels great. I love playing live. It's nice that people can gather in in places and be comfortable once again. And the response has been really amazing. You know, I mean, I think, you know, I guess a lot of our audience is kind of based in the jam band scene, and we're sort of on the outskirts of that. You know, I think our music is a little darker and maybe a little more, ask a little more of the audience than, you know, than some of the other bands in the genre. But, you know, because the music is so spontaneous and freely improvised, I mean, basically what we do is you know, there's a songbook, we have tunes, but the arrangements are made up on the spot. And we flow from tune to tune. We don't stop in between. And for my money, some of the more interesting stuff occurs in the kind of the connecting tissue between the songs. You know, when we're finding our way from one place to another. And it's, you know, the thing that's been cool is for a lot of our history, we've been based in the Boston area. You know, we've had this residency at the Lizard Lounge since 1998 that went up until March 2020, and then, you know, everything kind of stopped. And we've done a few shows at the Lizard since they reopened back in September, but we haven't continued with the residency. So it's nice to kind of play for different audiences and take it to different cities, and, you know, kind of get a different response from audiences. And, you know, it's cool to try to win people over. You know, when we play the Lizard Lounge, it's a real hometown crowd. There's a lot of you know, repeat offenders, or whatever you want to say. You know, people that have seen us a lot and they kind of know what to expect. And it's great to play for people like that, but it's also nice to be challenged to, you know, to kind of win over new audiences. So that's been cool. And these shows coming up in New York at Falcon and Deep Dive will be really fun, because, I mean, you know, I haven't played with Reeves in ages, and I think this will be the first time since 2020. I played with Matt. We did a show with Medeski at the Falcon during the pandemic. They were doing outdoor shows, and we did one there. And I just actually played with Kalb, Eric Kalb, in New York a couple of weeks ago. He did a show with us, and that was his first time in a while. And it's you know, as the band implies, it's a club. You know, I mean, we don't just make music together, but we enjoy hanging out in each other's company, and it'll be a nice chance to, you know, kind of renew some ties and hang out with some old faces.
So if anyone out there wants to get the latest album, learn more about where you're going to be on your tour, get tickets, anything related to the band, 25th, the music, where can they go?
Probably the one-stop place would be our website, clubdelf.com, clubdelf.com. You know, you can follow us on socials. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and more up-to-date information can be found there. The Falcon website, so they don't actually sell tickets for the Falcon. It's their reservations, so you actually have to email or call the Falcon to make a reservation. Deep Dive tickets are available on their website. I think it's through Eventbrite. But if you just go to our website, that's probably the best place. All will be revealed.
Wonderful, Mike. Man, it's great to catch up with you. Congratulations on 25. Keep on taking care of the road. I appreciate you taking time out today.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're making inroads to get further and further away from our home base, and you never know, we'll be in Kansas City at some point. It'd be nice to actually meet you face to face.
Absolutely. I'll be pulling forward. I'll keep my eyes open. But thanks again, man. Good luck with everything.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Boston, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Mike for his time, energy, and cool. If you want to hear more interviews, you can find Neon Jazz archives at Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.